On the Pioneer Vision Weekly Basketball Report, we're here with head coach Dave Bike. And, Coach, a couple of tough losses last week on the road at Long Island and St. Francis, New York. In the LIU game, you guys had a 6-point lead in the second half, but they seemed to kind of just turn it on at some point there, and defensively especially frustrate you guys. And then Saturday, it was just seemed like a game that kind of got away from you early and kind of steamrolled. So I think maybe one of the questions I have for you is, with that loss on Saturday, the timing of it is what really seems to kind of hurt, seeing as how you guys are trying to fight for a playoff spot, and that's the only time you'll face St. Francis, New York this year. I guess talk about those two games and where your team's at here heading into this week.
Well, the St. Francis game was a real big game. I mean, if we had won that game, we'd be ahead of them in a fight for a playoff spot, and now we're 2 games behind them. The other teams in the league, but again, they're head-to-head with St. Francis. That was a very important game. We're very disappointed how flat we played. You never look good missing, and we missed an awful lot of shots. Shane Gibson, who's been very, very good offensively, had a bad day, but we just didn't fight back to compensate poor shooting. So that, like I said, that was disappointing. LIU is a very good team, and like you said, we had a chance to beat them, but they wore us down a little bit. They out-rebounded us, which was disturbing in the St. Francis game also, because I think we've been gutting it out on the boards throughout the year, and overall I'd say we've been rebounding better than I thought we would, and then we went into important games and got out-rebounded by a good team, and then got out-rebounded by the worst rebounding team in the league. So if that's going to happen, in other words, we have to, if we overachieved early in the year or throughout the year rebounding, and we don't continue to overachieve, then we're in trouble.
Now, Coach, what do you, as a coach, what are the concerns with, you have such a young team, and so many of these guys will be back next year. It seemed like, to go back early in the year, that Hartford comeback win really catapulted you guys into a winning streak. A loss like you had on Saturday, is there concerns of like a hangover effect?
Well, it could happen. You don't know why we played as flat on Saturday. If you want to talk about the loss on Thursday, did that hurt us to play like we did on Saturday? So I don't know. All those stories are written young, and a catapult from a victory here. I mean, everything's been written. Now it's for us to make them print the right story. That we came back and we fought and we played together. Like I said, if we play real hard and we play more together than any other team, I'll suffer the consequences. I think we can welcome the results, but until you do that, and part of that is rebounding. You can't tell me you're playing real hard when you're not fighting on the boards.
How important will these last 6 games be, especially with a young team? I mean, you're not out of a playoff hunt at all. I mean, you have work to do certainly in order to try to get back into the race. But with such a young team, what will finishing the season? What are you especially looking forward to?
We were young in November when we started. You know what I mean? And that stuff there. I mean, players are players. You know what I mean? Nobody ever looks at the birth certificate of a guy. The guy. You watch a guy play, you say, boy, he looks like a player. He's doing well. And they don't ask how old he is. So that stuff is exaggerated. You know what I mean? You got to, there's young teams that are successful, and there's old teams that aren't. So it's not, you're not on the calendar. If you can play, you can play.
All right, Coach, NEC Rivalry Week here. Second year, the Northeast Conference has put together a slate of games where you play your rival in back-to-back. So for you guys, tomorrow night, Wednesday, you'll be at Quinnipiac, and then back here on Monday night, Valentine's Day, playing the Bobcats once again. That game will be on MSG television. Talk to me about Rivalry Week and what it is and what makes it special.
Well, anytime you play a rival, and there's a rivalry between us and Quinnipiac across the board in a number of sports and a number of different areas, so it's always important. But I know at the league meeting last year in basketball, there was talk of, should we split that up? Should we split the back-to-back rivalry up? And we said, hey, why don't we try it one more year and see what happens? You know what I mean? See if it does catch a little bit more fire than so I don't really know the right way to do that. To play them early, play them late, play them the last game of the year, play them in the middle, back-to-back. But we'll find out this week if it sparks anything. But that game is important. Like I said, we played it in November. The 2 games we played in December were important. Yeah. They're coming back to haunt us right now. So the league game, when you only play 18 games, they're all important.
All right, Coach. Well, good luck this week, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, Bill.